best on screen television. Ours it is.
Hearing or generally gaining access to a person's story is not a right, but a privilege. It's good to be here again. My name is DAMILOLA RAPHAEL, and I have traversed many different written pages to bring you the show, The Bookshelf, again today. Now, it is an open secret that biographies are my personal favorite of all times. You get to walk the paths, share the space and emotions of the subject without distorting or disturbing anything. You find courage for another, even at a time you may have misplaced yours in actuality. Though not heard or even coming behind shadow, your loud cheers persist all the same, and maybe still appropriate in the case of the hero still being alive. You groan and moan, you crouch and you vouch, you hail and wail with renewed hope, vigor and courage. You climax at an ending that's exactly what it is in the subject's life, reminding us that wishes are no horses. And then you're jolted back to reality. This is you. You have your whole life ahead of you. Will you live the dream? Will you leave the dream? Will you leave the dream to live the dream? However it is, this is you. The reader is entitled to their feeling at the end, but I have a duty to remind you that you owe it to yourself and to us that you fill the blank pages in your booklet and leave that script to inspire as many as will engage it. A sip of water it will be. And right after that, we launch into the deep. You're welcome back. Our guest today is a retired broadcast journalist with experience spanning more than 4 decades. He has worked his way through several ropes, from radio disc jockey to presenter, columnist, news editor, producer, and director. His voice dominated the radio and television airwaves, especially in the south of Nigeria. He won the Osun State Merit Award for Media in 2007 and retired from the Osun State Broadcasting Corporation as Director of News and Current Affairs. In retirement, he finds time to present a weekly radio show, A Time with the ALAMU Man, on Rave 91.7 FM. He is the author of several books, one of which we'll be reviewing today. A father and grandfather, happily married to Adeola Abimbola. Dear viewer, I have the esteemed Smollett Adetoyeshe SHITTU ALAMU with me on the bookshelf today. Glad to have you with us on the set, sir.
It's a privilege also to be here, the 4th time. We hope that all will be well today.
All will be well. You know, from a particular moment, all is well, all is well. So, a story to tell. What inspired the title?
Oh, yes. It was not part of my working topics.
Okay.
I had about 3 topics.
Okay.
That I was working with. But one day, I just, in the bathroom, it then just struck me, a story to tell. a story to tell, and I felt it was an inspiration. So I would say, and I would admit that the topic is an inspiration from God.
You have always wanted to do your own autobiography.
Oh yes, yes. When I
getting a title for it.
Yes, when I did a mini autobiography that had to do with my broadcast
Your
life,
work,
that was in 2013. I knew I was going to write an autobiography, so I had been working towards it. But in 2020, it was published.
Okay.
By March 2020, I knew I was going to be 70, so I started writing. It took me about 7-8 months. And then, yes, it got published finally in that same year.
December.
But it went through at a point in time when I couldn't spend Christmas because I was ill. And the show had to go on because 28th, we had slated for publication. I had written the governor, I had written everybody. So I went there on Christmas Day to sit all day long to attempt to edit.
Okay.
And it was good I went because it would have been, I couldn't have published that book. There are still minor problems, but those who don't know or didn't know wouldn't know what I was going through. I was ill for about 3 weeks.
Wow.
But I ended up getting it done. And on the 28th of December, which was my 70th birthday, the book got published.
What was it? You know, I'm looking at you and I'm like, this very handsome man in front of me is over 70.
Well, I used to be a handsome young man.
You still are.
I'm old now, but if you see some of my pictures when I was 25, 27, my university days, you know that here was a guy.
Here is a guy.
No, was a guy. Today he's no longer. The younger guys have taken over, and I give them all their due respect.
You're still in charge. You're still in charge. So what was it like you listening to the retelling of your birth story?
I wanted, yes, it was imperative that I did it. Because as I told you, in 2014, 2013, I wanted to use that as my retirement, but I couldn't. I had done 7 or 8 page chapters, but the remaining as director of news, it was very difficult for me to. So I abandoned it and said, I will still do it. So I did it. So immediately I did that, I knew someday very soon I should be able to do my real biography. Tell the story the way I know it.
So what was it like for you? Because you definitely had listened to that story quite a number of times. Times you wanted to listen and times you deliberately actually wanted to really listen. What was it like for you each time you heard the retelling of the story surrounding your birth?
Well, these days it gives me joy because I've passed through it all. And I have had a dual face. The first face being the face of a man who is just a man of the world. The second face is a man who has come to know God. And so very deeply, very seriously. So I look at it and I say, okay, it's well. I don't bear anybody any grudge. Even in spite of the challenges that people gave my mom in order not to make me come to this world. We have gone past it. I've been the born-again guy for 35 years. So before 35, I was thinking differently. But today, I don't look. Here am I. It's His grace that has kept me. So I recall one time when I was going to write my leaving school certificate.
Okay.
Middle school, we call it in Ghana. Then it's like the what do they call? What did they used to call it? School. There was something here I will recall. And 10 or so days I was admitted in the hospital. 10 or 2 weeks, either 10 days or 2 weeks, and it was my final exam. And I'd been given a bed, and I was suffering from, they said, hernia, and that they would operate at age 15, 16. But God came out and said, this boy must not be operated. The white doctor, he came back and called my my stepmom,
Okay.
who I was living with. They call it Mama Lagos. In those days, they would call any woman or man Nigerian Lagos. They would add Lagos to it. Say, go and take your child. He came and felt me again and said I should go and come back in 2 weeks. I never stepped there again, and I've never had hernia. So it is God who healed me at that time. So when I look at all these things, who am I to harbor any grievances? No, any grudges. No.
I mean, if you know, at different points of discussing with you, we've talked about Mama not to.
Yes.
If she had lived.
If she had lived, she would have still. Yeah, I have told you I have had a dual life. The first 20 years I would have been mad. Oh, naturally. Oh, this is the woman who didn't want me to be born. I would be mad. It was natural. But after I had come to be born again and had seen that this world is nothing, that God is the creator of all men, good men and bad men. God created them before they became bad. So I would have had a change. And I tell you, Dami, if I had wronged her as a youth, I would still have gone back after 35 years to go and plead and say, forgive me, it was done in error.
All right, so you've done, I said I traversed many different pages.
Yeah.
You did different businesses. You did tea and bread business.
Oh, yes.
You handled Mama Adejoke's kola nut business.
Yes.
How come you ended up as a career man and not as a businessman?
Incidentally, I don't have an idea of business because I am a very straightforward person. If you come to take money from me and you don't return it, don't think I will ever ask you.
Oh.
So if I became a businessman and people came to take money from me, I wouldn't know how to ask them. So it was good that God disoriented me from that line. But I was, as a young guy, I have always wanted to do things the right way. I never discriminated amongst my many mothers. And that's why Mama Adejoke was not my biological mother, but I lived with her. And so I just had to give her my best.
Okay.
She had her mother died and she had to come to Nigeria.
Yeah.
And then I had to be in charge for nearly 2 weeks, either 6 weeks or so. I took care of. She was surprised that this is not her biological son, and this is the son who has done all this. In fact, the day she came back, we didn't know she was coming. I was right there at the shop. Right there. So she was surprised to come and meet me right there, supervising things and taking notices of everything.
Talking about your many mothers now, let's go back to Mama Morawo.
Yeah.
It's quite obvious that you love your mom so much. She spent, or according to what she had written here, she borrowed your savings. Anyway.
This young woman. Okay.
She bought you newspapers,
Yes.
the Daily Graphic and the Ghanaian Times.
Yes.
I mean, is that enough for you to pardon? Because now that kind of propelled you towards this career path.
Oh, yes.
So
yes.
is that enough compensation for her taking your money in those days?
Yes. I mean, what was she was my mom. The things she had done for me over the years, giving birth to me was. But as a young boy at that material time, you save your money from selling tea, etc., and your mother takes it from you. What else could you say? You can only grumble, and that's the end.
Well, okay.
She was a very good woman, very good, useful woman. I have written a book on her when she passed out. Young men and men, we are all grown-ups now. Everybody wrote something about the woman. And I was enthused when one of my younger brothers said, my mother was the family nurse. When we were growing up, 7 years, 8 years, she would ensure that we brush our teeth. I had forgotten that, but that young man stated it in the write-up. And I looked at it and I knew it was true. Because she was a tough woman. So she didn't bother whether you are the biological or not. She had to grab you, she would grab you and she introduced us to toothbrush.
Awesome.
Way back in the late 50s.
Amazing. Now, on the side, it's not part of the book we're reviewing today, Story to Tell. As a father, did you also dip in your children's savings?
Oh, no. No. They didn't have savings. I mean, my children didn't have savings of their own.
Okay.
I have had, without being anything egoistic, they had nothing, but they are comfortable now. At a point in time, they were all students, including their mom. They were schooling. I was schooling. Well, I went for my master's, 1996. So they were young children growing up. Okay. And their mother finished her master's and wanted to go for PhD. I said, no. Not that I was not stopping you, not because I don't have a PhD, but because I am the only breadwinner. I am the one responsible for everything, for food, for everything.
There was no such thing as
so go and stay. So these children knew, or they know that I never usurped them.
All right.
But these days they are paying me back.
Awesome.
They want me to come and visit them. So I will find time to. I will tell him for me.
Now, could you relieve the experience of having such high expectations, even from your teachers, and
you are taking me back to 1972.
Everyone's hopes?
Yes.
I mean, you got your first school exam entrance admission on a platter of gold. What was it like for you?
1972 was just bad. Again, I have written there. You see, those days we did not know that the Yoruba saying, "Kokoro tonje fo, are follower." I was remarkably going to break the school record. They were expecting me to get at least A1 in 4 subjects. Okay. And that would have broken the school record. My younger brother had done it. He had aggregate 9 in 6 subjects. Today he's a chemical engineer. He has retired. But everybody looked up to me because I was on the upfront type. I was a noise maker. Our students, you know, we are always I was a debater, so I had become known. So they expected. And the results came, and it was, look, when one of my teachers, I was somebody who was supplying the class questions. I will paste it on the notice board. Class 5 student. I will write as if I was an examiner, and I will paste it. Then the teachers will come and say, you mean you can answer all these questions? I said, there's no question that comes from this.
So what was it like after the failure?
I don't know how the failure came, but I give it to God. Okay. I don't know how it came. I shouldn't have. And that failure led me not to be able to go to the university until about almost 10 years.
Later?
Yes.
Okay.
But the joy of it was that when I couldn't go to 6th form, HSC, for 3 consecutive years, I decided to write the A-levels as a private candidate, and I did it in 7 months.
I mean, there is actually,
so that qualification, my A-level results, is the best I have because it took me only 7 months to write it after I had made 3 efforts to enter 6th form for a 2-year course. I decided to write in 7 months. Why 7 months? We registered in April. Our eldest brother died in April, so the family was, and the exams was in November. But I passed.
It's still amazing.
So I always say it anyway, that is the best result I have ever had. Today, by the grace of God, I hold a master's, but I don't care. That's higher school said, which I did in 7 months.
Was the deal breaker for you?
Yes. And that's what made me enter the university eventually.
You've, gone through a whole lot, I should say. Periods of you having to wait for a job, eventually getting the job, getting into activism, and then coming back down to Nigeria and not being taken, even though you're a son of the soil because of your accent. But let's talk about your personal life now, your marriage. There was so much in terms of responsibility, and you still so many children. I think about 8 of them. And you still decided to take on the vivacious.
Yeah, I have in all 13 that I can say I took care of. 13.
And you still decided to go ahead.
To do what?
To get the vivacious one into your life.
David, you are correct, but everything is in print. So you see, at that time, I needed the woman to come and take my wife had died. And I was still a young man. Young man, not so young. I could have gone, I was about, I remarried at about 60. But you see, when I had these younger children, all of them in the university, etc., I needed somebody to mold them together.
Okay.
And that's why what you call the vivacious came.
Awesome. How can the viewer gain access to some of your materials?
Well, I'm an old school man.
Okay.
So some of my boys have started telling me, my children have said it long time ago. I must put it, they said, look, mine is to write. It's yours to find a way of publicizing it. I'm okay by what, but I would sooner than later listen to have agreed with them in principle. I've always been my own marketer and things like that. But I'll listen to them because after writing about 13, I have a 14th book now, which got published last January. So I think I should listen to them and put them on the media, social media, and other, so that people can know that this man is not only voice. It's not only voice.
You know, Sir Smollett, Detoye Shittu, ALAMU.
You younger ones may not know that.
Preparing to meet you and engaging you right now makes me picture my future self. What do I want to tell this me now, you know, when I get there by that time? And I tell you, dear one, that this is a material worth reading over and again. You know, pass it on to your next generation, gift it to someone. They would appreciate you for it. You would also be grateful. Thank you very sincerely for you know, documenting this very inspiring piece, esteemed sir. And there, viewer, here we are. When will it be read? Your own story. Keep writing. Don't forget our mandate for the year 2023 on the bookshelf, and that's don't just read a book, write one. My name is DAMILOLA RAPHAEL. Super looking forward to your success story as the honored anchor of the show. See you next time. Goodbye and God bless.